Hello everybody and welcome to Game A Dayer. It is day 343 here on Game A Dayer. My name is Step and today it is a Sunday, which means, of course, it is a Sunday story time. And today, for Sunday story time, we are going to play Echo Tokyo, an intro. An interactive graphic novel and a kinetic graphic novel to enjoy, set within a cyberpunk dystopian future with full professional voice acting for every line and Steam achievements. Interesting. This game has mixed reviews, also interesting, and is available on Steam for $2.29. So full voice acting. Some of the art doesn't look so great. I guess we'll see how it looks when we play it. Dark Horse Studios. I like Dark Horse Studios, usually. Violence, eh? I guess we'll find out. Choose the story to begin. Shizume Misaki origin story or Keiji Light origin story. This sounds like a girl story, so I imagine that'll get more views on the YouTubes. So, yep. Shizume Misaki origin story.
It's the throbbing in my back that wakes me up. The bone-deep pain beneath my shoulder blade.
That's not good.
It nags at me, settling itself firmly between me and much-wanted sleep. I get up and gently stretch out the old wound.
Oh my.
Glancing into the mirror, the image doesn't line up.
I should say not.
The visible scar is long gone, but I still feel it from time to time, the phantom blade lodged in my muscle.
I have to say, I'm not impressed right now with this art. This smile does not go with the tone of what we're
hearing. I trace my fingers
hearing.
over the place where the wound used to be, now just a memory. Sometimes it feels so fresh. Well, just part of the job. That same job is waiting for me now, just downstairs.
What job is that?
I sigh. The pain isn't bad, just persistent and annoying. Looks like sleep isn't on the negotiation table anymore. I trade in the opportunity to sleep for the opportunity to bathe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not a bad idea, as it turns out. Hot water! It's not always a guarantee, so when it comes spilling out of the shower head, I almost squeal with excitement. And because it's hot. But I'd rather be scalded than have to deal with jumping in and out of the spray of water just to get clean and try not to freeze. The hot water of the shower loosens up the stiffness in my shoulder and rinses the last traces of exhaustion out of my limbs. I hum a little as I bathe, feeling refreshed and swaying idly to my own tune. I wish every day started out this good. Though, if every day started out this good, I'd probably be out of a job. Can't have that. The suds stream off me, and I take every liberty in letting the water wash them off. By the time I'm done, the room is hazy with steam. Pristine clean, I finally turn off the water, letting it drip from the ends of my hair and puddle at my feet. That's better. My shoulder rolls
So
freely
what is
again,
she?
most of the discomfort gone.
I like this place, this very cyberpunk looking place, like the bed, the closet, it's all like open concept, little messy.
And now I really have no excuse to avoid work. And if the last time I checked my unit balance was any indication, well, I could probably lose an arm and still have no choice. Admitting to desperation doesn't come naturally, but I feel it easily enough. It's probably what kept me up last night. Circular thoughts about failure and hunger. I steel my expression a little, checking it once more in the mirror, and then go downstairs. Hoshi? Aside from the static hum of electricity, the reception area is quiet. She must be out for the morning. Oh well. Have I really gotten so lazy I can't just make my own damn coffee? The answer is yes. I head down into my office instead. At least here I can quiet some of those nagging fears, at least if there's work available. I approach the map, gazing at the layout of the city, as a quiet hope stirs in my chest at the prospect of a job. It's not for lack of options either. There's always work for fixers, and there always will be.
Aha! She is a problem solver, which probably means shoots people.
Hell, ask most people and they'll say we do anything. Like moral prostitutes, we shell out any service for the right price. For some fixers, that's the blunt truth. I've heard that the job had noble beginnings, but that ours is the road to hell variation of good intentions.
Aha.
We were meant to fix society, to redeem it from the lawless chaos it had fallen into. But eventually, people learn that fixing something just depends on your perspective of the problem. It can be a bloody and brutal business. And that's alright for the most part. I can handle bloody and brutal, but I don't believe in making the city worse.
So, she's the ethical person in the wrong position kind of thing. Bounty hunter with a heart of gold.
That's all we have left. I guess I've developed something of a reputation, digging my heels in against the employ of crime lords. Not many of those jobs get sent my way anymore. But occasionally, honest work comes along. The map begins to update the latest job postings, and I bite my lip in anticipation. Let's see what we've got. Here's something.
That's a cool looking city. Ah, missing young girl named Obinata Natsumi. Area, slums. Go figure. Compensation, 5,000 units for location. 10,000 units for safe return. Additional info. Compensation sponsored by the Obinata family of the core city. I'm guessing that's the domed portion. Natsumi is suspected kidnapped, taken while exploring.
Kidnapped in the slums? If that's the worst of it, it might as well be a fairy tale ending as far as that place is concerned. Hopefully nothing horrible has happened to her yet. I skim over the information a second time, trying to puzzle out the why and how questions that never come with the listing. I wonder what some rich core family's daughter was doing wandering around there. Probably just answered my own question, really, but what does some young kid from the core know about the slums? My relief at finding a job comes with a little guilt, and it's not the first time. I shouldn't feel happy at the prospect of a young girl being kidnapped.
That's fair. That's interesting. It's an interesting moral dilemma. Oh, goody. Something terrible has happened. I guess I get to eat this week.
But finally, here's something worth doing, and I can feel however I want about getting her back. With renewed conviction, I accept the job and download the mission data.
All right.
Ugh, that smell. Across the bridge, the slums are dimly lit, entirely dark in places which lack power completely. Yuck. The place reeks of trash. Even from across the bridge, I can get whiffs of it. It's a time-sensitive mission, naturally. I came here as quickly as I could manage, the bordering bridge between the slums and the core. Anything could be waiting on the other side. The weight of the stun pistol resting on my hip gives me little reassurance.
She's got a stunner.
Trying to chalk my reluctance up to the stench and not the shadowy, looming danger prevalent in the area, I set out. Dangers never turned me away before, not from a good cause. And if I'm in danger out here, then a young girl doesn't stand a chance. I set off across the bridge with renewed purpose, heading straight for one of the more notorious gangs that deals in kidnappings. They have all shades of every kind of evildoing, but the smarter ones play to their talents. A good reputation brings in good money. I know the paths there like the back of my hand, the same hand that's had to knock a few teeth from their lawless mouths. Or, to put it diplomatically, we've met.
So, some of the art cues aside, this story so far has been really good, and I enjoy the voice acting, so kudos.
It's just up ahead. No way I'm jumping into that wasp nest unprepared. For some reason, our history doesn't involve a lot of peaceful, reasonable negotiation. I hang back, choosing a stealthier way to do things. Consulting the data given to me by her parents, a couple of media files pop open on the holographic display. The picture and audio are crisp. Perfect. I've had harder jobs than this, that's for sure. At least from the technical side of things. I set my holowatch to scan. As it surveys the noise of the surrounding area, any sound waves detected are displayed on the screen. The device picks apart sounds I could never dream of hearing with my own ears, sifting through data rapidly. A 360-degree image of the immediate area is captured by the cameras installed along the watch's edges.
Nice.
But I'm counting on the audio recognition for a starting point.
Yeah, like, they may not even have her, right?
Predictably, it takes a long time to even come across traces of a similar voice, and there's no match on her name. There's no guarantee she's in a position to talk. I swear, if this takes me on one more false lead, I'm gonna chuck it over the edge. Huh. 63% match. Not bad for this distance. All the most frequent highest hits do come from the gang's primary hideout, and there's another one. She must be there. They're too far away to see clearly, though something's definitely going on.
Man, I kind of wish that this had stealth game elements, because this so far has been an awesome setup to like infiltrate the facility kind of game. I'm digging this.
What is all this?
What is all this? What is this?
I've never seen their main hideout this active before. There may be too many of them to do anything here, and I'm not picking up any signs of Natsumi now. Damn it. Where are you? Looks like the usual run-of-the-mill activity for this bunch. And whatever the hell that is. Wait. Is
that doesn't look good.
The holowatch lets out a steady beep, but nothing conclusive. Could that really be her? She's one of the only girls in the area. That's an easy false positive with that bag over her head.
Yeah, but why else would she have a bag over her head?
I'll have to take a closer look. Scanning for identical features. Still inconclusive. Not that it has much to go on. Height and weight are pretty accurate, though. But I'm not jumping into this mess on bad intel. Come on, take the damn bag off. Bingo. That has to be her. Even from this distance, I recognize her. Her hair has been cut, but otherwise... Wait.
Wait?
What the hell? She doesn't exactly look afraid. If anything, she's happy.
Huh.
That's not the face of a distressed, confused kid.
So...
My hands curl into fists involuntarily as the reality dawns on me, watching her stroll around the gang's motorbikes. I recognize this. It's one of their first initiations, right? Jumping over the void. But I've never actually seen anyone stupid enough to do it. That must be her boyfriend, if he's allowed to make the jump for her. Over the roar of the bikes, even the holowatch can't make out distinct words. All I get is the squealing pitch of spinning tires and revving engines as the bikes roar to life, setting off some kind of signal. My stomach twists as the bikes pick up speed and launch themselves at the glass barrier. Thousands of feet in the air. And nothing below to catch them but a cloud of nuclear waste and the top of some decrepit Tokyo ruins. It almost hurts to watch. My hands tense. They actually didn't lose too much momentum. But they're still suspended over nothingness. Natsumi throws her hands up proudly as they go sailing over the empty air, clouds below. This is exactly where she wants to be. As an initiated gang member, I could try to take her out. There'd be a reward for that, too. As they land safely on the other side and speed off, I know better than to hope for it. Hunting them down isn't worth the risk, and I'm not suicidal enough to get on a core family's bad side. Ugh. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it.
There's an easy solution here.
There goes everything. That asshole just rode off with my 10,000 units.
Only 5 of them.
Well, no. He rode off with half.
Yeah, that's
I guess
right.
I can still give her parents the location and cash in the 5,000.
There you go.
It's better than the big whopping nothing I'd get from coming here otherwise.
Exactly.
What a waste.
Sure. Complain.
Maybe that's what I get for wanting to help people. When people are just bastards.
Uh-oh.
The footsteps come to a stop behind me. Damn it, I've been spotted. This really isn't my lucky day, is it? At least I might have someone to take that out on. I whip around to face the person behind me, stance strong. Oh, shit.
Huh. Those look like some bad dudes.
Talk about being outnumbered. Listen, I don't want any trouble.
Then you came to the wrong part of town, didn't you, Fixer? Must be looking for a bad time snooping around here. How about we show the bitch why people don't eavesdrop on us? And take all that fancy tech while we're at it.
Like hell.
But let's keep her face pretty. I like having something to look at while I have a little fun with her.
Ugh.
Oh, shit. 3 to 1. They crowd in on me before I can do anything at all.
Don't you have a stun pistol?
Ugh. The pain splits through my stomach and up through my ribs as a solid punch connects. All the air is forced up and out, leaving me gasping and unbalanced, reeling back.
I thought fixers were supposed to be tough.
I hear the glass cracking as I fall back into it, shards falling out and into the abyss below. Get your hands off me! I roughly try to pull my arm away, but it's no use.
Squirm all you like. Gets me going. You know, you look a little overdressed for this part of town.
Ah! Stop!
This game is, I don't know if it's gonna continue being YouTube safe.
The cloth rips open easily, his friends whistling and shouting and asking for a turn.
You know, I think this still isn't gonna do it. Damn, boys, look at these.
Laughter erupts among the group like a bunch of cackling hyenas. No! His touch is rough as I struggle against him, desperate but far weaker. I have to get out of this. I manage to get my legs between us, trying to kick him off. Get away from me!
Don't even fucking try it.
A strike to the face sends me reeling, his friend's ugly mugs spinning above me as they creep in closer.
Where does that dumb bitch think she'd even go?
Stop it. I'm too dizzy.
Don't worry, honey. We'll find a nice place for you.
I can't. I glance around desperately, twisting my head. Anything to avoid looking at him. I nearly gasp. My stun rod. Almost got it.
I thought it was a stun pistol.
Closer, and my hand wraps around it before they can warn him. I said, "Get off me!" His whole body goes rigid in the same moment I push him off, even without the amps traveling through their system. His lackeys look on, stunned. At least, for a moment.
Get back here, bitch. Come on, she's getting away.
I hear the bike roar to life at my back, like a monster waking up. How do I outrun those? Thinking on my feet, I run toward wherever I see people. A decent crowd should slow the bastards down. Even holding my clothes to my chest, even being chased, no one seems to even glance at me. People mind their own business here, no doubt knowing better than to get mixed up in some fixer's one-man gang war. No compassion, no worry. Just single-minded self-interest in every washed-out face. I don't need their help. It's not like I have anyone to blame for this but myself. Ugh, damn it. These assholes are insane. It's not slowing them down at all. I'm only putting more innocents at risk. With no sense of direction, I dart around a corner in an attempt to lose them. Did it work?
I don't think so.
The sound of bikes doesn't fade, but they don't follow me into the alley. They're still so close. I can't just stay here. Eventually, one way or another, they'll find me. I creep toward the back of the alley, listening for the sound of any bikes circling the area. So far, so good. Hope stirs in my chest. Am I really going to be lucky enough to get out of this? Nope. The lights of the bikes practically blind me. But through the beams, I can make out their jeers. Huh. So this is how I die. Well, there's one mystery solved. They've called in backup, blocking off my exit at every turn. All this fuss over me. I'd be honored if this wasn't practically a death sentence. Or worse. So, what are the odds we can talk this out? The bikes roar to life. Yeah, I didn't think so. Run, run, run! Behind me, the screech of tires signals their approach as they gain on me. Outrunning them is impossible. The bikes swarm around, gaining ground with every moment as my legs throb with exertion. The stabbing pain branches up to my side as I throw myself forward. There's no way.
Before she can prevent it, she's beaten unconscious. What is left of her life will be wasted as a slave to the gangs. Bad end 1. That sucked. What is this? Oh, it's a gallery of pictures and things. Well, oh, that got loud. Why don't we try the other story? Choose a story to begin. KG Light origin story.
It's the hunger I remember most. It wasn't hunger in the sense of the constant hollow ache in the pit of my gut. That kept me up at night, sure. But it wasn't what stuck with me. It was just the fear. The fear that the next meal wasn't going to come, or that it would be taken from me. Have you ever seen a stray cat eat? Big ravenous gulps, devouring more than their stomachs can possibly hold. If you have, then you've seen that kind of fear. I was a kid having an existential crisis, knowing I could fade out of the world and no one would be the wiser. It's probably not how most kids remember their childhood. I hope it's not. But it's how the kids I grew up with learned to live, out there in the slums. I guess they raised me when I couldn't raise myself. I certainly didn't have any parents to do it. Not even a memory to tell me what happened to them. It used to bother me. I would sit and wonder if I had gotten lost one day. Just vanished, right out of a happy home. Did my mother have a sweet smile and tuck me into a warm bed? Did somebody even look for me? I didn't have a lot of time to dwell on thoughts like that. And it was probably for the better. Having no parents meant having nothing real to miss. Now I suspect the blunt truth is colder and typical. My parents are either dead or indifferent. It's all the same, really. And I didn't go without family. In the slums, even us parentless kids had our own little gang. Our own rules we used to survive in the Sky City. The slummers gave us a bunch of names. Scavengers, rats, cloud kids. Cloud kids because we each seemed to drop out of a cloud one day. Just appearing and drifting through, never settling. Rats because people are assholes. And scavengers because it was a more polite term for thieves. And we were just kids trying to survive.
Yeah?
I thought it was a pretty typical existence for a long time. Turns out, I've never had what anyone would consider a typical existence.
That's interesting. There's something about the way that we live as individuals that we just assume that's normal because it's normal to us. And I've been experiencing a lot of realizing that what I thought was normal is not, doesn't have to be normal, doesn't have to be typical, so I can kind of understand that.
I figured that out eventually. But at the time I only knew a few things. I was always hungry, I was always tired, and my name was KG. Did I give myself that name or did they? Is it the only gift I was ever given by my parents? I don't know. And on the streets, you learn to pretend not to care.
Yeah. You learn to pretend not to care about a lot of things, whether you're on the streets or not.
It wasn't a pretty life. It wasn't easy or even enjoyable. But I had friends. Friends who I grew up with. I guess, for the sake of some neutral ground with normal childhoods, I would have called them siblings. They served that role among many. Mentors, playmates, rivals, all the necessary honesty and cruelty that kids are born with. We all played a part in surviving. An impossible chore for any one person out in the slums, but a group of us. Well, we managed. We were the closest thing to family any of us felt we would ever get, so we made the most of it. But nothing can make that nagging, gut-wrenching fear dissipate. On the streets or not, I was just a kid, and I wasn't ready at all for what was about to happen.
Screech!
The car skid to a stop only a few feet from us.
Is that an official vehicle?
It glistened in the light, pristine and fast. Obviously from the core city. Usually we'd be wary of anything involving the core. But excited chattering broke out among us as the doors started to open. You never saw cars like that here in the slums. Not unless they were stolen. And even then they didn't last long. That was when we noticed the uniforms and the guns. A man in a long white coat gestured toward us.
Bees.
Suddenly wary, we hung back a bit. We knew danger when we saw it, and we were threatened often enough to avoid anything involving weapons. Adding core people into the mix was like setting off a siren warning of incoming trouble, but the soldiers approached us amicably, asking for information about a notorious weapons trader in the area. It wasn't the first time we'd been approached for information. It was just as valuable as the food and junk parts you pulled out of a trash bin. Sometimes more so since it didn't smell. It was easy to overhear things when no one took any notice of it. One of the oldest boys and a self-proclaimed leader stepped forward to deal with him. The rest of us watching curious, we were promised something in return for any details we could give. And the negotiations were underway. I didn't listen. The conversation may as well have taken place on another planet. No, my eyes never left the scientist in the white uniform. Something about his reflected gaze causing a chill to grip my chest. I couldn't see his eyes, but something told me they were looking straight at me. And that was when the gunshots ran out.
Assholes.
Without our notice, the soldiers had slowly surrounded us on each side and penned us in. The screams seemed even louder than the gunfire, the terror rooting me to the spot. I remember the disbelief, the astounded impossibility of what was happening weighing down on me. They were my friends, my family. Some were shot on sight, as if on the soldiers' sudden whims. I watched them fall, gunned down one by one in the street without rhyme or reason. Others were assaulted, beaten down into bruised heaps of submission. It flickers in front of my eyes still, the sight of limp bodies with slow sanguine blood pooling at their sides. My instincts pulled at my heavy and non-responsive limbs until I finally managed to turn to actually move. But the cold barrel of a gun pressed against the back of my neck, the hair bristling in response. Rendered entirely still, I stared forward, straight at the man in the white uniform. All the blood and all the chaos. But he still looked back at me. Even there, with a gun pressed to my neck, and the sounds of my friends dying in agony, he seemed like the biggest threat. And then he walked toward me. His stride took him around me, and out of my line of sight for a moment. That was maddening, the not knowing. Even the feeling of the metal left my skin, the gun barrel seeming to rethink its judgment and release me. My knees trembling like jelly, I started to slowly look over my shoulder.
This one.
Towering above me, the scientist grabbed me roughly, a hand clamping over my head. I turned my head to glare up at the man, who seemed impossibly tall and sinister. I surprised myself then, when all my fear evaporated. It turned to rage. In the most powerful motion a scrawny, underfed boy could muster, I slammed my fist squarely into his chest.
Nice.
I was repaid in kind when the stiff toe of a boot connected under my ribcage. Too thin to have much weight to me. The kick was enough to send me twisting into the air briefly. The shadow of a gun passed over me, where I knelt on the ground and gasped for every breath that wouldn't come.
No.
The high, insidious voice interrupted. The man in white pushed his guard dog back.
This is one we're taking.
I like that they're calling him Thug.
We can't fault the boy for being spirited.
I didn't know what that meant then. What did they want with us? What did anyone want with us? With kids, still reeling from the attack. I couldn't fight back when the strong arm grabbed me around the waist. I only really acknowledged what was happening when I felt the needle slide into my skin. I didn't know what it was I had been injected with, but it did its job fast, I'm guessing, since that was the last memory I have of the massacre. There wasn't anything I could have done then. And for a long time, I didn't even feel bad about what happened. I didn't have the luxury. I woke up to pain. Not once, mine. Every time I woke up, it was because of pain, I didn't know where I was or what was happening. The sting of the whip biting into and removing flesh made it impossible to think. Every few minutes it would happen. The seemingly random lash that would carve out a new scar. The pain was unbearable. A splitting agony that felt like fire. Before it subsided into a dull throb, my whole body became a raw nerve. Arms, back, torso, legs. They spared no part of me from the senseless whippings. I wasn't alone. Aside from my attacker, there were the others they had taken too. It would have been a relief knowing I wasn't the sole survivor. If this wasn't the hell we had woken up, I heard their screams. Once I was aware enough to realize they weren't just phantom echoes of my own. When I mustered enough strength to raise my head, I saw another boy restrained close to where I was. When I tried to call out to him, though, it resulted in a lashing so severe I either passed out or don't remember it. I just remember waking up from it, immobile, and wondering, half hoping, how much blood it took to bleed to death.
Yeah, this is a really pleasant little storybook.
Too much. I don't know how long it lasted. There never seemed to be any reason to it, no method. Once the pain had broken you, that became the maddening part, the why. Occasionally I would see the scientists gazing at us from behind glass. It was like they feared approaching us might get blood on their pristine white coats. I didn't know what they wanted, and it was a folly to ask. I just knew I envied my friends, the ones who had been left dying in the street, and the thought of feeling horrified about what had happened to them. In that moment, it would have made me laugh. Then one day, the routine stopped. It was almost as distressing as when it had started. To suddenly lose the pain. All the sensation that had been familiar. All the ways I had learned to quantify time in this windowless place. It was gone. And somehow that was terrifying. Even my wounds were healed without explanation. Hideous marks were left behind. Deep grooves of skin forming little ridges and valleys of hard scar tissue. But the worst of the pain had gone. More had changed than just my beaten body. As I was taken to a wide-open room I had never seen. I drank in every sight, pleased to see anything I didn't recognize. I wasn't foolish enough to be excited, though. I doubt I would have even been capable of such a thing. A man approached me, wielding a weapon in each large fist. I had learned better than to speak without first being questioned. And despite the obvious threat, I regarded him in silence. Without even being aware of it, I waited for instruction, harboring the anxiety of failure.
This is troubling.
Of more torture. In many ways, I had been stripped down into some creature I didn't recognize. Something basic and primal composed my nature now. Suddenly, an intercom squealed to life with breathy static and a squealing hum. A voice that sent a shiver up my spine filled the room. That same high tone that had been permanently etched into my mind.
You have one very simple mission. Survive. Good luck.
That was it. There were no more instructions. No more explanation. I didn't ask for one. My gaze leveling on the man. Predictably, he charged at me, a blade clutched in each hand. I don't remember deciding to fight. Even if letting this man cut me down where I stood would have probably been the smart thing to do. The only way out. I didn't do it. Instead, I moved faster than he could have dreamed, and swung my fist right into his gut. I didn't fight with any grace or technique. I fought the only way I learned to fight. To punch the hardest, and feel the least. It may have been clumsy and desperate, but it wasn't ineffective. The overcompensating dual wielding didn't save it. A second blow. This time a sturdy strike to the neck, and the man's head snapped back. He didn't offer to get back up. Knocked out cold.
Interesting. Very interesting. Maybe even I underestimated your potential.
I didn't know what was coming next, or what this madman was talking about. I ignored the phantom praise he offered up over the intercom. Abruptly, the door slammed open, and guards flooded the room, guns held in their hands as if I was some threat to them.
Well, apparently you can take down a man holding two swords who is bigger than you. So yeah, I'd say they were probably threatened.
They surrounded me on every side, crowding me back, entire body stiff. I eyed them warily, like a trapped animal ready to fight. But they said nothing. It was the damnable voice over the intercom that took charge.
You've won the fight, but you haven't passed the test. It's time to finish the job. Do it!
The job? I glanced back briefly to the prone body that lay still and unthreateningly on the floor. A phantom image of my slain friend seemed to stutter across my vision. That felt like another lifetime ago, but it was still there, that long-held memory. And with more resolve than I knew I had left in me, I planted my feet firmly and said nothing.
I said finish the job, or you'll wish you hadn't succeeded at all.
Maybe I'd forgotten how to be afraid too. Or maybe I was just bullheaded beyond all reason, and they still hadn't knocked it out of me yet. But surrounded by these murderers, I knew there was one thing separating me from them. It wasn't the scars or the captivity. It was that I had never killed anyone. I shook my head stubbornly, denying the order and focusing my full intention, that memory. That strong, horrific memory. If that was what it took to keep me a little human, I'd cling to it no matter how much it hurt to hold. And in silence, I waited for my punishment. I was kept waiting long anyway. The butt of the gun collided with the back of my head in a solid strike. I was out before I hit the floor. That was how I woke up.
Thanks for that.
Nothing they had done to me before this point could have prepared me for that kind of pain. Ripped open and alive when I shouldn't have been. Immobilized but feeling. I thought, at first, I was being killed off for disobedience. That was a little too optimistic, I guess. Initially, I had felt everything. The edge of a sharp scalpel, the grinding of bone. The air even smelled like blood as I gasped for it. But then, after grueling minutes, I thought I wouldn't survive. My body itself felt unbound. My skin and the air around it no different. And that was the best I had felt in a very long time. And then I saw what they were doing. The ominous metal spinal column was lowered down carefully. Then it passed out of my sight again. I was trapped in this strange, unending nightmare that I couldn't comprehend. And much like a dream, things simply happened to me. Nonsensical, random, impossible. None of that mattered here. A bit of preliminary feeling flooded my veins. Less pain this time, and the strange bulky sensation of something moving in my back. The sensation of tugging and stretching, the vibration of something sliding into place. I tested my movement again, which would return to me a little. It took monumental effort just to raise my hand the little bit I could. I hadn't felt the restraints earlier, but they were there, clamped around my wrists and ankles. I couldn't go anywhere even if I wanted to.
His body seems to be responding well.
I couldn't make sense of the readings the doctor was looking at. My vision too blurry and mind too numb, but I guess I didn't disappoint.
Close him up.
My memory fades out here, leaving nothing but odd sensations and mismatched pieces of dialogue. Everything starts to get hazy. I just remember one phrase for certain.
The surgery was a success.
And then there I was. Which might have meant something, if I knew where there was at the time. I was woozy on my feet, the forceful grip that had guided me there suddenly leaving me as I glared against the bright lights. Disoriented and still sluggish from what felt like an eternity of sleep. I came to slowly. My back felt stiff, the skin pulling and hard to move, but at least it didn't hurt. I heard the intercom turn on, and suddenly I knew. That same voice, even the same words. I was awake in a split second, as if someone had run a current of electricity through my veins.
You have one very simple mission. Survive.
survive. As if I'd been doing anything else. The horror of the surgery had finally crept back into my mind, but I couldn't focus on the now. It was another arena, not unlike the first, only this time, I wasn't exactly dressed the part. Great.
I think you'll find this a rather interesting challenge.
The voice wasn't wrong, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I was pitifully outnumbered. I recognized some of those faces, how much as they had changed, even with sunken eyes, wild eyes, and muscled, scarred bodies. They were some of the boys I grew up with. It stirred something in me, a piece of myself that I'd been dwelling over during all that time in recovery, suspended somewhere between death and sleep, with nothing but the past to escape into. Did the scientist really think that I'd change my stance on killing? That I'd bow to his whim?
Attack!
Okay, so I have some things that I want to say about this game so
In
far.
one savage motion, the group lunged toward me like animals on the hunt. There was nothing left of their old selves, not a hint of empathy or recognition for me. They followed the order, the way I was expected to follow the order. And even if I wouldn't play the part of a willing puppet, I was not going to stand around and get myself slaughtered. I was too wary of pain to let that happen. So when a man twice my size rushed in first, I slammed my fist forward. The bone broke against my knuckles like glass,
Ugh.
my fist meeting something mushy and fleshy within. Everything simply caved beneath my hand. I can still feel it. The phantom sensation of passing my hand through bone and muscle and teeth.
Gross.
I didn't mean to do it. I didn't even know how I did. The assailant slumped backwards, his face so broken it was unidentifiable, and pieces of his... But the others didn't stop charging, not even registering the death. They were a single-minded swarm. And no matter how hard I tried, so was I. I couldn't stop fighting them. My body just reacted. Every punch catastrophic. Every kick enough to shatter bone. Whatever they did to me in that surgery, I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. As if every part of my body was enhanced. But maybe that's not the worst of it. The worst of it was that I couldn't feel bad about it. I couldn't feel much of anything anymore. Even when I stared at the bodies prone on the floor, I didn't want to kill them. I knew it was wrong. Now I was a murderer. I had taken life, and I could never undo it. Never but I searched for the guilt, the dread, and the fear. I knew what I should be feeling, but it simply wasn't there.
They took it out, did they?
Was that what it meant to be broken? Did they finally succeed, I wondered? Behind me, a door opened. I recognized the surgeon, now dressed again in the standard science uniform used at the facility.
Come on, KG.
His hand rested on my shoulder, as if we were not standing among the bodies of people I had slaughtered,
Let's go back to the cell.
and I followed him. I could have fought back. I could have killed the scientist without even trying. So why the hell didn't I? These were the thoughts that plagued my mind when I was returned to my plain functional cell. The scenes played over and over again in my head. The sound of bones crunching so distinct. I should have been repulsed. But wasn't. I'm still not. I didn't understand it. But it made me feel physically sick to even think about attacking the scientist. My fingers twitched at my side, blood still visible under my nails. Eventually, though, I started to piece it together as I sat there. When the scientist put his hand on my shoulder, he thought I was complicit. He thought I was trying to kill them. They didn't realize. Whatever they tried to do to me, it only half succeeded. I wasn't powerless anymore, and wasn't sticking around to see what happened when they figured out the truth. I just needed a plan, preferably even a plan that didn't involve killing. It just involved a little destruction. The blood streamed out of my knuckles, but the punch left a sizable dent. I didn't feel much pain, I haven't felt the same since the surgery. As if my tolerance for everything was unusually high, like a blanket of snow was cast over my ability to feel, muting everything. And maybe that would come in handy. Punch after punch bent the metal further, until there was a rending of metal. I'd been in that cell long enough to puzzle out how it worked. Even though I'd never seen the technology, I'd heard the currents that run through the walls when the door opens. To say that I didn't know exactly what I was doing was an understatement. But I'd gathered up enough scrap metal as a kid to know the basics of how things work, and how to get them working again. So maybe, I thought, with more luck than skill, I could get the door open. I ripped through wires as I found them, indiscriminate and savage. I was waiting, hoping that one of them would short-circuit the door and trigger it open. Well, I certainly messed up something. A low electrical pitch slowly growing louder and louder. I should have taken that as a sign. The explosion took me by surprise. Metal shrapnel went flying, cutting into my skin and hands, and the sheer force of it knocked me back several feet. I shouldn't have come out of it unscathed. But my clothes were more wounded than me. But when I saw exactly what had happened, well, I didn't need to get the door open after. Smoke filled the corridor as I stepped out into it, sirens wailing loudly through the facility. I blinked at my freedom for a few moments, trying to come to terms with it. It had been a long time since I had known what it was like to make my own choices, but I lingered too long and turned toward the abrupt sound of footsteps. One of the scientists. Like a coward, he turned to flee, no doubt to summon help and reinforcements. Moving on instinct, I charged after. I couldn't let him get away, and I didn't want to kill him, not after what had already happened. But he would tell others if I let him go. I slammed my foot into the back of his leg, feeling the bone break against the strike. But with impressive control, or maybe shock, he turned as he fell. The volts of the stun device jarred through my body, tensing every muscle and making it rigid beyond moving. The metal in my spine rendered me almost immobile, but I pushed through it, fighting against the tension in my own muscles, and with one huge effort, broke free. I lunged for the scientist without reservation, fury flowing through my veins with the white-hot electricity. And with a motion of sheer desperation and rage, my hands twisted his neck sharply. Unlike the others, it didn't come without resistance, requiring a true effort to twist the skull out of place. And then I realized why. Smoke and sparks erupted from his neck as the technology in him shorted out. A similar technology to what was in me, I guess. Were they all like that? Were any of them as dangerous, as powerful as I was? A commotion attracted my attention, a stream of men suddenly manifesting through an open door. They tried to corner me, and all I could see when I looked at them were casualties. More and more casualties. A pile of bodies steadily growing and adding weight to my shoulders. I had to get out of there. So I ran. I ran until I hit something I had long since forgotten about. Sunlight. It filled up my vision, glinting off the edge of every building and gleaming in the reflective windows. There were colors and hues I had forgotten about. The chaos and bloodshed behind me was forgotten. As I took a deep breath of clean, fresh air, I could have collapsed then and there, in the overwhelming relief and phased confusion that befell me. Who was I now? What was I? I didn't know, but I was free. The facility at my back loomed over me, but I ran. Ran until I was out of its shadow entirely. I didn't know where I was going, or who I was now. It took a long time, building up a new life for myself when I had never even had one in the first place. And in some ways, I still don't know anything about who I am, or what I feel, but I'm figuring it out. The more I think back on that place, and the things I did while I was there, the more it unsettles me. I left it standing. Sometimes when I'm out, I see a band of boys sitting idly around the streets, hungry and wary and rough. That had been me once. Would a car pull up to them one day, and armed soldiers round them all up? Would they slaughter or experiment on them. When I was there, all I wanted was to be anywhere else. And now that I'm out, well, I'm working on that.
Thank you for reading. So there are no choices in the male path. That was a heavy story. I have issues with the fact that evil bad guy number 1 just goes ahead and kills people that he's obviously invested time and energy and a lot of resources into. Like, it makes sense for the Sith, because it's like, oh, I only want one apprentice. Whoever's tougher, you go ahead and kill the other guy, and you're going to be top dog. But for, like, a scientist who's obviously trying to craft something, it's like, it's just a waste of resources. And I know that's, like, not the human way of looking at things, but I'm trying to look at it from the evil perspective. So they just seem like dumb bad guys. Like, anyway, oh, and also I enjoyed the first part before it got all rapey. I don't know, just, I can see why this game has mixed reviews. If you enjoyed this video or have any comments on this video, please let me know in the comment section down below. Give this video some love if you like the channel, and we'll probably play the actual Eco Tokyo, like this is the starting thing. Right. Gets louder. So, yeah. Let me know. If you like this channel, but have not yet subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button, and when you do, don't forget to hit that dingy bell, because that will let you know when I upload new videos, which I do every single day. My name is Step. We have been playing Eco Tokyo Intro today, here on Game A Day. Yeah. Here's the thing. Thanks so much for joining me, and please come back tomorrow when we'll be playing something for Mobile Monday. Thanks, everybody.